Are you satisfied with your understanding of sustainability? If you are not, imagine a journey together, a pluralistic one, with academia, innovators, startups, NGOs, all looking for solutions to the greatest challenge of our time. My name is Samuele Tini, and this is the Sustainability Journey.
Welcome to another episode, and today we are going now again round the globe, and we are headed to Rwanda, where we're having a wonderful, innovative startup who is trying to transform the mobility sector, not only in Rwanda, but in all over the region, possibly the continent. And we are here with the co-founder and Chief Technical Officer, Alp Tilev. Thank you so much, Alp, for being here.
Very nice to be here, Sam. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be on this podcast.
Thank you, Alp. And it's really exciting what we are doing, especially now we are in the decade of the last decade, maybe for humanity, if the worst provision they are there. I was reading that we will reach 1.5 in next 2-3 years. So electrification is really a key. And your solution and the work you're doing is going there. Before that, I want to know a bit about you. I mean, who is Alp? How you have become a leader in this sector, in the mobility sector?
My background really is in software. So I studied software engineering and have been working in the software space throughout kind of the early part of my career. I was a software engineer for working in this startup called Fast Search, which got bought by Microsoft. Did many things at Microsoft, great place to work, learned a lot, had fantastic colleagues, but there was always this kind of itch around doing something around the more important problems, I guess, that I saw were there, specifically around renewables and also equity and access to certain let's say technologies and let's say dignity of living in humanity. So I don't know, that itch maybe came from the fact that, you know, my father was working in renewables throughout his career, setting up the first wind turbine plants in Turkey, and my grandmother was also a deep ecologist. So maybe these kind of seeds were set in me from my early childhood. But it always seemed to me that, you know, the fact that we're so many people doing so many things on this planet, you know, sustainability seemed like an obvious problem that we were not really solving, and just kind of a one-way trajectory for growth and economic development. And so I figured, you know, that there's far more important problems that require my attention, and having, you know, little control over things over my life, except where I put my attention. I figured I needed to apply that where I cared most. And that was early on in solar energy here in Rwanda. That's what brought me here, working with a small private company called Great Lakes Energy that was doing basically installing solar power systems in rural health centers across the country, which was immensely challenging, but also immensely satisfying experience, and which kind of I used as the let's say the building blocks for learning power systems and batteries and battery technology and power electronics, and combining that with my kind of software and skills, we started building some platforms for monitoring these remote power systems, as they were often prone to failure. Even though they're off grid, they're prone to failure, just simply because no technology is perfect, and generally if it's not built well for the user, the technology does not last. And so those are very important early learnings for me in the first 2 years working there. And it was immensely satisfying to see the changes that these systems brought. The equity in healthcare, that's extremely important. Something that was very far for us, those living in Europe, where a hospital is a few walks away, and everything is very well equipped, and we don't have to worry about very fundamental issues like whether you can receive proper healthcare due to whether there's electricity or not. During that journey, I met my co-founder, Josh Whale, who had this crazy idea. This is in 2016, of let's say, came to our office in the solar energy company, said, "You guys, can you put solar on top of these stations, charging stations we're going to build. And what are these charging stations for? We ask. They're for electric motorcycles. And you're like, are you crazy? We're here, and you're going to bring electric motorcycles here? That sounds a bit whack. Who is this crazy guy? Was my first response. Like, these guys are mad. Electric motorcycles are extremely expensive, right? That's what we knew. They are a very high-end product generally for like very zero motorcycles and Harley Davidson and the Alta Motors. These are the companies that were like pioneering, let's say, performance electric two-wheelers. And so we were very puzzled on how this is actually something that can work.
And especially in our rural African context, I can imagine.
Exactly. Where the buying power is extremely low and where the conditions are extremely harsh. So how can you have a very robust product and sell that to people that have little to no income?
That is interesting. You said you have the technology, the Turkish background, and then the Microsoft, the work that you have done in the software, and then you came to Africa. And I really like what you said. You started realizing here the problems also, and also if the equality, and how also to access, and the problems that also the people had. And one of them, I want to talk about this because when this guy came, your co-founder now came and said, hey, I want to do electric motorcycle. What is the problem that he was trying to solve? And then, of course, now we will go to the story, because that is how the success story we can say that you have done now so far.
Yeah, and that was a very interesting, let's say, opening to the transition to the problem, because at that point in time, yes, in most African cities, you see a lot of two-wheelers that are that you probably haven't seen anywhere else. These vehicles, generally of a certain cc engine capacity, they're everywhere. They're all over the place. They're running deliveries. They're carrying people. They're basically the public transportation system, right? And also here in Kigali, there was the first thing I noticed, like, what are all these motorcycles? What I've never even heard of this brand. What is this? They're being used for taxi, and it's quite practical. They're just flying all over the city, and they're super easy to get around with. And so once you started digging in, and we asked Josh, like, so how is this a business? What is your product cost? Like, how do you make this a business? Like, these things are inherently very expensive. And so we started talking about it. He's like, actually, no, like in China, the electric mobility revolution has already happened. And there's extremely low cost two-wheelers all over the place. And Josh was living in Beijing for the past, before that, I think 4 years. So he had seen kind of bicycles turn into electric scooters overnight with these extremely low cost products that were solving probably one of the world's largest mobility problems of moving probably a huge number of people on very, very low cost vehicles all over major cities in China. So he had seen that. And he's like, why isn't this applied? It's not like this is a high-end product. There is low cost because of the scale at that this has happened in China. Now these components and products are actually, the price is very achievable. So that was news to me. I didn't know any of that information at that time until we had a conversation, and over a couple of beers and meals, we kind of started looking at the numbers. I'm like, this is very intriguing to me. This is very, it brings together many of my favorite things in life. It brings together sustainability. It brings together mobility. I love motorcycles. I enjoy riding them personally. There is an impact story there that brings equity to a very large population potentially. Yeah, and it's all my favorite things all in one place. So we started looking at the numbers, trying to put together a business model and putting some assumptions, and I just started helping out because I really wanted to see this happen. I think that there was something, as I dug into it, to see that there is actually a viable product here and value created for the customers. This is not something that's a fancy, we like to say, making shinier things shinier. It is not that. It's very, very utilitarian, yet it is also a huge value proposition potentially for our customers.
Definitely. And I can see, our experience here, where I'm sitting in town, full of motorbikes. Everybody is jumping on a motorbike, and some of the parcel is there. Sometimes you jump there because it's faster to go on a motorbike than being stuck in traffic. And then now Ampersand was born. And can you tell a bit how you are trying to solve the big problem, and then which is your model, and also the great benefits, because that's some we are hinted, but we can even discuss more.
So yes, like you said, as we dug in a little bit deeper and we understand it, that, look, we can make this work. We can, our major value proposition, the major problem that we were trying to solve is that, can we make riding electric cheaper than riding a petrol vehicle? That is the fundamental question that we set out with. Like, can we make this not a decision about your beliefs about climate change and the environments? Can we make this just purely about economics? And that's how we set out to answer the question. If we can make a product that provides an equivalent solution to the incumbent, the internal combustion engine vehicle out there, that makes it cheaper, better to use, it just happens to be electric, then everybody wins.
Definitely. Now, this is, I think, the key, because if you want to work with people, and we know the Boda sector, for example, it is the bottom of the pyramid. Those are people, it is not the fancy people that they want the upside, but you have to convince the economic. And then, of course, the positive externalities.
Exactly. These are not guys, the early adopters or anything. They're looking to put food on the table, send their kids to school, that have an income and have dignity in life. And they are not looking to take risk at all. And for us, that's also a huge responsibility, because whatever product that we were putting out there, that this is, we don't have a lot of second chances, right? This is not something that we can really play around with, because this is an income generating product. And if we fail, people won't just take us seriously, because this is the bread and the butter of a huge population in the country and in the region. We went out with the crazy idea to create some business models, started raising money. We got some seed funding from some really nice people in the United States, huge fans of our first funders, and we've started building some prototypes, like, to answer the question, can we make fundamentally some sort of technological product that solves, meets the requirements of this vehicle that they're using today, which is not a very fancy vehicle. It's very much a very basic vehicle but is very robust. And can we achieve a certain range and reliability with a battery pack, and that's swappable? So we went and built a few prototypes. We did customer interviews. We checked out what ranges we can achieve, how much fuel they use, how do they refuel, got all the information around the user that we could, and then went and tried to make a small commercial pilot of small swap stations where there's actually transactions. So before it was just prototypes and we're just getting drivers to ride these vehicles and work without actually paying for anything. So it was just more like getting the technology, understanding if the technology was feasible at the time to do this at a specific price point.
And then it's really interesting. And how now, you have this swap station.
Yeah. So basically, fast forward to today, we did several kind of steps and iterations on the product to get where it needs to be. And what we did was primarily remove the upfront cost of the battery from the users. And we have a vehicle that's similarly powerful, very nice to ride, electric, the power of electric, smooth, quiet, and for people spending 12 hours on a vehicle, these kind of things make a difference, and cost the same as their internal combustion brother. But the battery, you get one battery with the vehicle, and you can go to any of our swap stations and swap these batteries, and you pay as much as the energy you've used in these batteries. So these drivers are already used to topping up the fuel multiple times a day. And so we're like, what is that experience like? And how can we make our experience similar to that experience, where they can come and in 1 minute, 2 minutes, they get a fresh new battery and off they go. And we found that actually that is an experience that is very translatable. And so now we've gone on our third iteration of our product, where we have 11 plus 3 in Kenya now. Swap stations we're launching in Kenya this month, or we've by this time this airs we'll have launched in Kenya. And we do over 1,000 swaps a day, like with over 300 customers on the road who are not early adopters. These are people that have had a petrol bike or have sold their petrol bike and have come to buy our vehicle now. And we offer them an extremely reliable battery. Our battery that we've now worked very hard on, that we built ourselves and spend a lot of energy on, is the most critical element of the product. As the technological officer, that's kind of my key focus, to build that pack that is like petrol, where the user does not have to think about anything that it provides. It is a black box, and it is reliable, and you can trust it as much as you can trust the gasoline in your fuel tank. And so we've now have a product that our drivers can drive 70,000 kilometers without issue, with zero issues. And we see these numbers today, which is more than any petrol engine will ever achieve. You'll have to change the oil multiple times. You'll have to adjust your valves multiple times. You'll have to get a new timing chain. You'll have to do all this work you'll have to clean your carburetor multiple times to get to a 7,000 kilometer on a 150cc vehicle. And these drivers drive immense amounts a day. They 150 kilometers on average per day on that vehicle. So the number of kilometers that we've been getting is pretty insane. It's like 1 million kilometers a month on a cumulative, and it's only going upwards. And people love the product. Like we're basically sold out. Everything that we've had to build and is built, we're selling out already. Our next build, and we're really eager to put more of the product out there.
It's very interesting, and I can recall, because also for the work I'm doing and the project, we have many motorbikes, and they're always broken, the carburetor, the things, the others, and the huge maintenance cost. I cannot imagine how saving all these costs is changing and transforming lives. And I want to ask a question before going to the impact stories, because that is also what people ask. Do they pay as go, as you say, and if you have to compare with fuel and everything, which is the savings that a driver can do, somebody that is here outside the road can do?
So the vehicle costs roughly the same as a petrol incumbent. And generally they get that on financing. Some of the financing we do, some of the financing we work with external financing partners that basically just give the loans out to these drivers that they basically pay back slowly over generally 18 months or 24 months. Then on the savings side, we allow the drivers to save close to 30% of what they would be spending on gasoline. And as the gasoline prices go up, the fuel prices go up. We even have an even better value proposition these days. It's even stronger than that. And then on top of that, overall in the year, if you take around maintenance costs of internal combustion, the oil changes with these number of kilometers, all the things that you need to add up, the cost goes closer to 40% overall in these savings. And so, it's really a no-brainer for anybody, for our customers to go electric because of this. And they're able to either work less, or they're able to send their kids, pay their school fees, get less loans. And the impact story is very, very powerful, because these guys work so hard. And I say guys mostly because it is a largely male-dominated sector. And they work so hard to provide for their families and get upwards mobility in the socioeconomic status. And they work tirelessly, 12 hours a day on average, day and night, really with so little thin margins on what they're able to take home every day, that 30%, that 40% is massive for them. And we've seen the story unfold in front of us, where everyone we spent $0 on marketing to this date, zero on advertising to this date. We've never run a commercial ever, but we've sold out all of our product simply because we're very lucky in that regards. Word of mouth. Our customer is our best salesperson and our best marketer.
How do you solve the range? When we're discussing, and also with others, range anxiety. Is it this problem in Africa?
Actually, it's funny. It's not. It's a very different user experience in that regard. When we were first starting off, Josh, my co-founder, they were sitting at a gas station just counting the number of motor taxis coming in with respect to the rest of the traffic. coming in. And within, like, let's say a 3-hour time period of counting, okay, car, motorcycle, motorcycle, car, motorcycle, the number of times a motor taxi driver came in pushing his motorcycle because he's run out of fuel was like 10%. And that's with gasoline, with fuel stations everywhere. And you can have a tank that can give you, you can fill it up and get 300 kilometers. The problem, but the fact that our user was already putting in 1 liter at a time and without a working fuel gauge and just like shaking the bike to understand how much fuel there is sloshing around in the tank. Like they were already living at the razor edge of that range anxiety. Yeah, you see people pushing petrol bikes because they live on just putting that just enough fuel into the fuel tank for every single. Nobody's filling up that tank and riding the whole week. It's just not the user's behavior, and which helped in our situation because we didn't have to create behavior change around, let's say, filling your fuel tank once in a week and then just driving and not thinking about that, to like, let's say, if you go electric, maybe you have to charge a vehicle every single day. The behavior was so similar from the get-go that actually made it very easy for people to adopt our product and not be actually too worried to have to swap 2 or 3 times a day. Like they were completely okay with that change and what was not really a change. It was basically kind of very similar to what they were already doing.
You might actually even save time because instead of going 10 times to the petrol station, that's why, at the bottom of the pyramid, I've seen many times when getting on the motorbike, my experience, and then they tell me, okay, can you pay in advance the fare? So we go to the petrol station. I totally understand. And, going electric, it might be you have to solve 1 or 2 times in a day is even better than going there. And I want to ask, maybe, can you tell something that really impressed, some stories that, I don't know if you have, somebody that you have met, something that it really, and also the benefit, because, I also want to understand the people on the other side. Okay, this is an innovation that is a win-win also for the environment and also the positive externalities.
There's so many stories. So many of our drivers are early drivers. So they're our first 20 early adopters that they took such a big risk. I get emotional just even like about it.
Yes, definitely. No, I can imagine.
We couldn't fail them, right? Like we had to give something where it was working. And some of those guys that were like our early adopters are now actually our employees. They now work with us. There are test drivers, there are teachers, there are like driver trainers, there are salespeople, there are mechanics. So many of those first 20 drivers are now actually part of the Ampersand family that we work together every single day. And we talk about the product every single day, and they are our champions. And it's really cool and exciting to see that. Like it's very, very satisfying.
I can understand because, as you said, sometimes it's the same with people. When you propose a technology, the risk is on the people, and those are not people early adopter that they need the fancy phone and then okay, if it's not working, they get another one. And here, if you fail the motorbike, the children are not eating. Somebody is not going to school, so it's really I can feel the pressure and the work. And that's why the success story of Ampersand needs to be like seen and heard everywhere, because you have really transformed lives at the bottom of the pyramid, creating jobs, because I'm sure you are creating a lot of jobs in maintenance, in work of the batteries, and also technology transfer, because this is the real technology transfer that we need out in our continent to get a sustainable economy.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the fundamental principles that, Ampersand is headquartered in Kigali. We all live and work here. We have over 170 staff as of today working in these jobs. We have a factory where we're building these electric vehicles. We're building these battery packs. This is the first factory in sub-Saharan Africa of its kind, building a custom lithium-ion smart battery pack for the mobility. We didn't take any shortcuts. We couldn't take any shortcuts. We also wanted to create the technology for the people with the people here on the ground, and not just have something made and brought in outside, because we know the challenges, and we don't want a bad product where there's no ability to maintain it. There's no ability to learn from it. Some sort of black box technology that you might drop in. And if it doesn't work well, you lose the trust on electric, because we don't have the opportunity to come back again. This has happened a little bit in some solar area in the early days in the solar sector, with very poor quality products coming in and very bad user experiences, where people says, solar doesn't work. Solar works fantastically. It's just that the user experience and the product needs to be well made. And now we're getting to that position. But in an early point in the orders, early in the solar kind of adoption, that was a major problem of very, very cheap products flooding the market, and creating very bad user experiences where the trust and the user trust was lost. And that takes years and years to then recover after that.
I cannot agree more. That is how you should do also proper project, a proper investment on a fair level and bringing top-notch quality and products. Because with solar, even in my experience, said the same, solar does not work. 2 days, the battery is gone. Yeah, no, it's because that is a very cheap and disastrous product. I want to ask you, Alp, where is this journey taking you? What is the way forward for Ampersand? I mean, you told you are opening, you are here in Kenya now. Okay, we want you to expand all over the country. Where are you taking this dream?
Well, we want to take it as far as it can go. We want to really expand and make this technology available for many other countries beyond Rwanda and Kenya. Uganda, East Africa is our primary target right now, where we have a huge number of these vehicles and only growing, not becoming less, growing 50% year over year. Immense number of vehicles being sold. To be able to just give 1% or 10% of that is a vast number, and we really need to scale this up. Right now we're talking about in the thousands of vehicles this year, and we need to get to 10,000s of vehicles this year. We're building up our production capabilities here in Rwanda and in Kenya, doing just more and more integration work to really de-risk and let the business scale up. So the factories are just getting bigger. More and more raw material to product is happening with vertical integration. It's all very capital intensive as well. So we need capital to flow into this. But in comparison to a lot of things, actually the capital needed is minuscule. I like to think about Elon Musk buying Twitter for 44 billion. We could, all of the motorcycles would be electric with that kind of capital. It's just, you have to make it happen, and it's very possible. And we've shown that it can be done. And it's now about scaling that up. So we're very excited for the next few years, where we're building more and more.
And thank you. And this is something also give us hope. When we read the reports from the UN or other, we say, okay, we don't have time, but then people like you, they are working on the ground, and to reverse and give possibility. They are good for the planet, they are good for the people, and also they are a profitable company. So that is where businesses needs to be. I want to ask the last thing. People from all over the world are listening to us. I mean, our listenership is from the US to others. I want to ask you, what is your final message and call to action that you want to give to the audience?
I mean, I always say this: these are problems that are not going to be solved by some magic force. We control our attention, and we control how we and what we spend our time on. There's jobs for everybody to contribute in these sectors, and I'm seeing that more and more now. More and more people are interested, and they want to be a part of the solution, and that's very, very, very feasible. There's potential to have meaningful work where you're solving meaningful problems and contribute to fight against preserving our planet, having an equitable and without an equitable society and living on and preserving our planet, which is our home. So find jobs in green energies, put your energy to the things that matter to all of us on this planet together. So that's my call to action.
Wonderful, and this is a wonderful one. We are also trying with this podcast to try to spread messages and positive messages now, especially in those times. Thank you so much, Alp, for your time. And I'm sure I would love to hear you again, maybe in 1 year time, to see where have you been and where have you gone. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alp.
I hope so. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Are you satisfied after this wonderful episode? Let's continue together our sustainability journey.